Then we were offered to be re-educated and given the choice that they could either revoke our fostering license or they would give us up to a year to change our faith. And I said, no, we're not going to change our faith in the next year. Absolutely not.
Vermont is facing a foster parent shortage. There are many kids that need somewhere to live and not enough licensed families to take them in. And yet, despite this shortage, 2 families were recently told that they're unfit to take in Vermont's children.
Vermont had and still continues to have a really bad opioid problem. The children are the ones that suffer the most when parents fall down that trail. We had been hearing about it for a while and it had been stirring in my conscience to get involved. Finally, it stirred in his and we started the process of becoming foster parents.
We really saw that there was a great need, in our town. Literally look out my office window and see drug deals go down all day long. We work with the homeless population in town. Really, it started with her. One of the things that we'd always desired was to have more children.
Our youngest daughter, I picked her up from the hospital, and she was severely addicted to drugs. The first few months of her life were in my shirt, skin to skin,
With her shaking
uncontrollably. It was, heartbreaking.
It's rewarding and heartbreaking.
Yes. We recently had adopted our youngest daughter in 2023. We had gotten a call from the DCF office asking us if we would take in a new baby that was about to be born.
As we were getting ready to say yes to this child, we got an email in with new LGBTQ plus regulations.
We got an email as like one last thing, we've got to send you this questionnaire. One of the questions was asking on a scale of 1 to 5, how accepting and supporting would you be of an LGBT foster child?
They said that all foster families, regardless if you are going to have an LGBTQ plus child, must be willing to affirm any gender identity, any sexual orientation. That was an absolute requirement for licensings. So after we made it plain to the department we could not abide by these new regulations, we got a phone call. And in that phone call, we were asked things like, could we use inaccurate pronouns? Would we take a child to a pride parade? I said, no, we just cannot go against our faith. We cannot do things like that.
So because you hold Christian beliefs and you're potentially not willing to take them to pride parades or use preferred pronouns, you are unfit to be foster parents.
Yeah, that's what the state had identified. We were surprised because, as I mentioned, they are typically always trying to match children with families as best as they can. And so we assumed maybe they would just say, okay, we won't place an LGBT child with this family, or without them knowing fully where this family stands, even though that we'd be loving and accepting.
Then we were offered to be re-educated and given the choice that they could either revoke our fostering license or we could take some education materials and they would give us up to a year to change our faith. And I said, no, we're not going to change our faith in the next year. Absolutely not.
45% of Vermont are religiously unaffiliated. Across the country, I think that number is usually around 23%. Only 12% of people in Vermont actually share the Gantts and the Wuoti's faith. It's almost as though they're a religious minority that is being targeted by the state.
The email specifically said things like, you must affirm regardless of your beliefs. And, I think it became very clear to me that as a pastor, these are places I just can't go. I mean, I can't get up now in the pulpit and preach on certain subjects. I can't read Bible verses if I have my foster child with me because it's going to conflict possibly with the department's policy.
Now, Katie, you had an experience in your childhood with gender dysphoria, right?
I desperately wanted to be a boy. I have a core memory of going to a yard sale with my dad, and there was a model car and I really wanted it. And so the guy came over, the homeowner said, I think every little boy should have a model car. Here I am, like, thrilled that the guy mistook me for a boy. Then my dad said something that stuck with me. He said, she's a girl, but yeah, I think she should have the model car too. I remember feeling secure on firm foundation. My parents loved me and let me like the things I liked, never lied to me about who I was, and never encouraged me to hate my own body.
Now they're suing Vermont's Department of Children and Families, represented by Alliance Defending Freedom.
This lawsuit is a challenge to the new regulations dealing with gender identity in Vermont. The regulation requires that everyone who has a foster license holistically affirm a hypothetical child's gender identity. They are asking couples questions like, will you use male pronouns for a female child? And will you take a child to a pride parade? These are actions that involve speech. These are actions that violate our clients' constitutional rights because they violate their religious beliefs, and the state cannot require them to go against their religious beliefs.
According to the Wuotis and the Gantts, Vermont is prioritizing gender ideology at the expense of vulnerable children.
There's lots of families like us out there that would love, accept, care for any child that's placed in our home. Good people, good families for these kids.
And so the fact that they deemed us unfit for all children of all ages was really surprising to us. I never thought in like the worst slippery slope version of where this has been heading, that this would be the outcome.
They often state, we need a whole range of families for foster care. We need all types to fit all the different kids that come in. And yet now, because of this one thing, they're excluding people like Rebecca and I, families like us that could take care of these kids.
They, in their mindset, genuinely think that this is the care of these children that are in need. And so I understand to a degree where they're coming from. But we also know, in the way that Katie had been loved and cared for by her parents, that there can be wonderful, flourishing outcomes for children, even in a home, that doesn't agree with the state on these issues.